we need to talk about fit bowls. Hey, I'm Nick and welcome to my kitchen. This week, we're tackling Stouffer's prime rib fajita steak bowl. With 24 grams of protein, you probably think this is a great lunch to pop in the microwave real quick. I'm gonna show you how to make this homemade. Here's everything that you need to make a prime rib steak fajita bowl homemade. First, we're gonna start with our rice. You can use whatever rice that you have on hand. I have some basmati rice that I'm gonna use, and to elevate those flavors, I'm gonna cook it in 2 cups of chicken broth. It's a direct substitute for water, so in order to make 1 cup of rice, you need 2 cups of water, so I'm gonna use 2 cups of chicken broth. Once the rice is done cooking, as per the directions of your rice, we're gonna go ahead and zest in 1 lime's worth of zest, and the juice of said lime. We're also gonna add a clove of garlic and about a 1/4 cup of fresh chopped cilantro. For our prime rib portion, we're actually not gonna use prime rib. That's a waste of a beautiful cut of meat. What we're gonna use instead is flank steak. It's a little bit tougher cut coming from the underbelly of the cow, but if you know how to cook it right and you marinate it and break down those tissues, then you're gonna get a deliciously flavorful, soft cut of beef. In order to marinate it, we're gonna marinate it in a 1/4 cup of pineapple juice, 2 teaspoons Worcestershire sauce, I think I got it right, some smoked paprika, about a teaspoon of cumin, a pinch of red pepper flake, some salt, and the juice of 2 limes. For our fajita mix, this is where you can get a little bit creative. I'm gonna use a couple bell peppers, a red and an orange, and a couple of poblano peppers, and 1 red onion. And then you're gonna need to top all of this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna char this corn in the same pan as I cook the steak in, and then I'm also going to add in some other ingredients like tortilla strips, tomatoes, sour cream, but you can add whatever you want as a topping. These are all the essential ingredients that you need to actually cook the meal. Because we're gonna be marinating our steak anywhere from 30 minutes to up to 8 hours or overnight, we're gonna go ahead and prep our ingredients to get that marinade going. Let's get cooking. All right, there's only really 2 things that we have to do to prep our marinade. First, we need to mince a clove of garlic. And we need to roughly chop about a 1/4 cup of cilantro here. Seems about right. Easiest way to chop herbs, just go ahead, grab this, roll it up like a little cigar, and then just pass your knife through it. We don't want to cut this too thinly because we're gonna have to wash this off of our meat after the marinade. I said there was only 2 things to do, but there's actually 3. We have to get ready to juice our limes. With the palm of your hand, just roll it back and forth, and then you'll see the tips. Just give it a little push down. This is just gonna help start the juicing process. Quick little slice, and repeat. Now what we wanna do with our flank steak is season it, because it's not gonna get the great seasoning if we just throw everything into a bag. So let's make sure we season it right here. Sprinkle of kosher salt, some fresh cracked pepper. We're gonna take about half of our smoked paprika, half of our cumin, and we're just gonna give this a little rub in, make sure it gets evenly on top, and then repeat for the other side. Once that's seasoned, we're gonna pop it into a freezer Ziploc bag, or I'm gonna use a vacuum sealer. And the vacuum sealer is just gonna help me get more flavor into it by sucking the air out of the bag. Once your meat's inside the bag, go ahead and add in the garlic, our fresh cut cilantro, our pinch of chili flake. We'll start adding in our liquids. First, the pineapple juice, then 2 tablespoons Worcestershire sauce. That's tough to say. And then the juice from all 4 halves of our lime. Once all your ingredients are in the bag, just go ahead and squeeze out the air or put it in the vacuum sealer. Once that's sealed off, we're gonna toss it in the fridge for about 4 hours, and then we'll get to cooking it. While our steak was marinating, I went ahead and cooked my rice in the chicken stock, and now we're gonna season this to make it a cilantro lime rice. You're gonna need 1 clove of garlic that we're going to mince. I'm going to use a garlic press. The more you squeeze garlic, the more flavor you're gonna get out of it. So I like to use the press over mincing. You're going to zest your lime and then squeeze the juice out of it. And we're also gonna cut about a 1/4 cup of cilantro in there. Let's get it all mixed in. This time we're gonna wanna cut the cilantro a little bit thinner because you don't want big pieces of leafy cilantro going into your rice. We'll just add that cilantro in. Next, we'll tackle the garlic. Last but not least, we're gonna zest our lime. I'm using a microplaner. You can use a small grater if you have one. And all we're just trying to do is take off the green. You don't want to get too far into the rind though, so just be careful when you're grating this. And last but not least, use the same lime and juice it. Give it a quick stir and then taste for seasoning. If you use no added sodium broth like I did, then you're probably gonna wanna add a little bit of salt to this, a little pinch of kosher salt. Our steak has been marinating for a few hours now. I'm gonna go ahead and start prepping our vegetables, and then we can hit the frying pan and start cooking everything. For the peppers, I'm just going with a simple slice. And again, for our onion, we just wanna go with a thick slice here. Probably about that thick. Last thing we have to prep is our poblano peppers. And the easiest way to do that is just to cut it out the middle, cut out all the seeds that you see inside here, and then just slice them like we did with the other peppers. Now that all our vegetables are prepped, let's go ahead, pull our meat out of the fridge and have a look at it. There you go, our delicious piece of meat. Let's get it cut open and cleaned off. Just trying to clear away all those little bits of garlic and cilantro because they're going to burn if we don't. Easiest way, take the back of your knife and just push off that garlic and cilantro. Don't worry about getting every single little piece off because you're not going to be able to, but just try to get the bulk of it. You don't want a lot of burned flavor from that. This meat smells incredible. Let's get it into our cast iron pan. The secret to cooking flank steak is that we want a really hot cast iron pan, and we're going to cook it quick on really high heat. The reason we want to use cast iron is because it does a really good job of retaining heat. So with a neutral oil, go ahead and add in about a teaspoon or so. It is a fit bowl after all, and once that oil starts to smoke lightly, we're gonna drop in our piece of flank steak. If you don't hear that searing, your pan is not hot enough, so just pull it out quickly and then wait for the pan to get up to heat. We're gonna cook this for about 3 minutes per side. All right, 3 minutes is just about up. We're just gonna have a look. Yeah, beautiful coloring on there. We're gonna give it a flip and cook the other side. Another 3 minutes until it registers 145 Fahrenheit. This has got about 2 minutes left. Remember that cob of corn that we had? We're just gonna add this in to get some color to the outside of it. You're probably gonna wanna rotate that about every 30 seconds until all of it is nice and has some nice color on it. Once our flank steak is cooked, let's go ahead and pull it out of your cast iron, rest it on a cutting board for about 5 minutes. We wanna let all those juices resettle and redistribute back into this. Once our corn has some nice charring on the edges, just go ahead and pull it off and set it aside with the steak to let it cool. We're gonna turn our pan down to about medium heat, add in another 2 teaspoons of oil, and we're gonna cook off our vegetables. We wanna do this in batches. We have a lot of vegetables to cook, and we wanna make sure that we don't steam them. We really wanna get some nice color and flavor into them. Once our oil gets hot, just add in about half of your vegetables. And if you give these a little pinch of salt, it's just gonna help extract the moisture and it's just gonna help them cook faster. Once your vegetables are crispy tender, and they've gotten a little bit of color on them. We're just gonna pull them out and we're gonna cook our second batch. Our second batch of peppers is done. Now let's go ahead and cut our steak and assemble this bowl. Our steak is good and rested, and now we're gonna cut into it. So, the best way to cut into flank steak is to cut against the muscle fibers. As you can see, they run across like this. So we're gonna cut across it. What that's gonna do is it's actually going to shorten the muscle fibers, which is gonna make it a lot less chewy, a lot less tough and hard to eat. That looks beautiful. Another secret with flank steak is that you want to cut it very thin. You don't want big cuts of meat here. Our steak's all cut up. We're gonna cut our corn up and then we're going to assemble. We need to start with a good base for our bowl. So that's where we're gonna add our cilantro lime rice. You're gonna wanna fill that up about a quarter of the way. Next, we're gonna add in our veggies. Just make sure you give it a good stir so that you mix up the two cooks. If you did it separately, if you didn't, don't worry about that step. We're gonna wanna use about a third of our veggies here. Next, we're gonna add about a third of our flank steak. And finally, we're gonna top this off with some of our favorite toppings. I'm using cherry tomatoes, our corn that we cooked, some tortilla strips from the store, some black beans, and some sour cream. And then to top it all off, I'm just gonna add a couple of jalapeno peppers. And there you have it. That is how you make a prime rib steak fajita bowl, homemade. But before we try this, we have to try our store-bought version. My number one concern with the store-bought version was the prime rib because there's about 4 pieces this big. So definitely not worth it. We put so much more with the flank steak. It's a much cheaper cut of meat, but if you cook it properly, you can get a lot more out of it. The steak is really good. It's not overcooked like I thought it would be, but the tomato puree that they have in here lacks seasoning. There's just not a whole lot of flavor like everything frozen meal. Now, let's give ours a taste test. We're gonna dig right into the steak because it is the most important part of this entire meal. Packs a ton of flavor. The marinade really helped break down that meat. It's not chewy, it's not overcooked. If you cook flank steak properly, it is incredibly delicious. The poblanos add a nice little bit of spice in there to break up the sweetness. That rice with the lime flavor just works so well in this dish. Add your favorite toppings, make it however you want. This is an incredibly easy recipe, super simple meal prep. I think you're gonna like this one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, smash that thumbs up button, and comment down below what you want to see me make next time. Until next time, get cooking.